Some years ago, my friend Jeff McBride invited me out to Mayfire, which is a sort of fire dance festival they have down in the deserts of Las Vegas. Now, I'd never been to anything quite like that before, and I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I'd been to Hindu temples and Messianic temples and regular Jewish temples and Baha'i temples and all kinds of different places of worship. But this was a new experience. We danced around the fire. Well, they danced, and I did something you probably wouldn't identify with dancing. We did a lot of drumming. I am a terrible drummer, but I made my best attempt. Even brought myself a djembe. And I had a wonderful time, but what was most interesting to me was a realization I had while I listened to them sing later. See, they all got together, and this is interesting about neo-paganism. Neo-paganism is really just this huge umbrella we sort of use to cover a wide group of different belief systems. My friend Jeff calls himself an alchemist. Some of them are Wiccans. Some of them consider themselves more pagan. Some nature worshippers, moon worshippers from more the Thessalian side of things. People from the Hermetic side, people from more of the Kabbalic side. All kinds of different belief systems, but they all get together under this general pagan umbrella. And what I found intriguing was they all knew the same songs, and they all experienced this sort of, you could see it as you were among them, how they were experiencing this sort of group thing, this emotional response they were having as they sang these songs together. And it seemed really familiar to me. And after a few minutes, I realized why. It reminded me of church. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm in church again. Because they'd essentially taken the same thing that we all have done ever since childhood, those of us who are raised Christians, sort of flipped it over, completely remythologized it, moved it out into nature, and turned it into something totally different. And really recreated something that many belief systems have probably been doing for thousands and thousands of years. This sort of emotional way that they all become one, singing these songs. But the really intriguing realization I came to out of all that was that worship or celebration of the divine, of God, of the universe, however you want to put that, really kind of comes down to two major categories. There's the congregational worshiper and there's the solitary worshiper. And I realized I'm really not a congregational worshiper. I mean, I enjoy it. I enjoy being there. I enjoy being with them and hearing it, but it's not the way I worship. If I was a Catholic, I would most assuredly be a monk or maybe a biblical scholar or a teacher. If I was a Buddhist, of course, I'd be a monk or a Hindu or all kinds of other, whatever the equivalent would be in a lot of different belief systems. I'm just a solitary person. And my form of worship, if you want to call it that, would be meditating or listening to music or reading a book. And I do it by myself. That's how I do it. And everybody has a different form of worship. Some people are a little bit of both of those kinds, both congregational and solitary, but I think most of us fall into one or the other. And more than likely, I think that probably comes down to whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. Needless to say, I'm very much an introvert, and so I tend more towards the solitary form of worship. But everyone comes down to something. Yes, even atheists. I know what you're going to say. Atheists don't worship. Oh, yeah? Yeah? Of course they do. Have you ever seen people at a skeptics convention when Richard Dawkins is in town? I mean, all of us have our own way, but what I find intriguing is just the self-realization. Because this explains very much why some people get along better with some system of belief than others, why they stay in certain systems, or they move to others. And just realizing how it is that you do that can be really important to your own spiritual experience. And hey, you can never beat self-realization of any kind. I'm the Urban Omnist. Thanks for listening. And guys, please don't forget to support us as much as possible by clicking subscribe, liking us on Facebook and Twitter, and please, 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 please send me those questions right at this address. Thank you very much. Again, I'm